Okay, so just in a few words, just finish this sentence. To me, the LGBTQ movement is what?
I think it's an extension of the broader movement for civil rights and human rights in this country.
Multifaceted and ongoing.
The LGBT movement has grown. It's gone from 0 to at least 4 letters, maybe 5 letters now, since I've been at UK.
I don't think it's so much a shock, but it has grown quite a bit. So I think it's definitely moving.
Well, I think Lexington has a strong history of LGBTQ groups and leaders, and in many ways, I think the city has had rich, structured LGBT spaces much longer than the university. I think what we've been able to do in the last year and a half is really build some bridges between a university with really specifically framed support spaces and safe spaces. With some of the great progress that has been made in recent years, it's also brought about what from one perspective is a healthier, broader awareness of LGBTQ folks. But I think from another, it can be seen as spaces to engage folks who certainly wouldn't support equality in any way and wouldn't support basic human rights for LGBTQ folks. So I think because we've seen a platform of awareness raised, we've also seen a platform of resistance sort of grow in a similar way.
Well, growing up here in Moorhead, it wasn't so out in the open, so blatantly prevalent, so to speak, back like when I was growing up in the 70s back in the day. So if somebody was a homosexual or had homosexual preferences, they did not openly show that. I think they will change, their perception will change because for me, in my experience, the LGBTQ, that movement screams and hollers that they want tolerance from a Christian folk like me. But they are the least tolerant of all. And when it comes down to it, my views are okay as long as they don't infringe on theirs. And if we don't find a way to live in that modicum of respect for both parties, for both sides, we will implode. I don't think it'll be an issue with the Christian community whether we can coexist, because that is how we live. The question will be how the LGBTQ community reacts.
If you read the first chapter of the book, it says that he created mankind, and then he separated mankind into man and woman, and then he gave a natural way for them to come back together, and then coming together produces life. And to me, that is the greatest argument for a man and a woman being married. It seems like homosexuality is singled out by a lot of Christians as being the very worst sin, and in one sense it is. The scripture says that at some point, when people no longer want to follow God and they declare that God gives them over to lifestyles that would include homosexuality. But as far as, and I do think it's stigmatized, but I share this pretty often with people who talk to me about the homosexual community. I don't think the straight community has any place to talk until they figure out how to lower their own divorce rate.
I mean, at some point you look at a situation and you say, this country and its leaders tried to make homosexuality illegal. They tried to make it a sickness. They tried to make it something that's socially unacceptable. And so people have been, jailed, people have been medicated, people have been cast to the margins of society. And all three of those approaches don't work, right? You can't penalize or create therapies or ostracize people out of their true selves. And so why is it that homosexuality becomes the sin? In a sense, it's so incredibly self-serving that I wonder why it's taken so seriously sometimes, right? So we look at Christian communities and we say, all right, so we're going to identify sins that we really have no inclination to support, and we're gonna, we're gonna define as sinful behaviors that we are never going to engage in. So male leaders get together and say that the biggest sin, the biggest moral crisis is abortion, right? Because they all know that they're never going to have abortion. And then you've got a bunch of straight people who are like, yeah, and we need to double down on homosexuality. That's the line that's gone too far. So the church has made allowances for people who've gotten divorced and then gotten remarried. Jesus defines that as adultery. We say, hey, it's okay, right? Blended families, Brady Bunch, move on. That's just modern life. But we need to draw the line harshly in homosexuality. And it's so incredibly self-serving that Christians have identified homosexuality as sinful. I don't personally believe it's a sin, but they do. But it's self-serving to say, okay, that's the bad sin. Everything else we're okay with because we might feel compelled to commit it, but that's the bad sin.
But I do think we are at a place as a society where we understand the importance of facilitating spaces for folks to be who they are and for promoting human rights. And though we may be in a space where there are fits back and forth, where it seems like we're losing substantial rights as two steps forward or one step forward, two steps back, I think we're ultimately still going in the same direction. So I'm hopeful. And I think 10 years may look a lot brighter than 4.
But politically, when you talk about the movement or you talk about individuals, that's really two different things. It's like the Trump movement. The Trump movement is full of deplorables until you meet one person who voted for Trump and he's a good guy. The Democratic Party is of the devil until your good neighbor's a Democrat. The LGBT community is pretty wicked until one of them's your friend.
And I don't want to take anything away from anybody because I think all people, they should have the right to, be with whoever they want to be if that's their choice. But for me, I can't be a party to that, and I won't be a party to that because, well, for me, it's a heaven or hell decision. And each one of those people has a soul that is of value. And anybody that is a Christian that would not reach for a soul is not worth their salt. So
why not try tolerance, right? Can we try tolerance and acceptance for 50 years? And if for some reason that is a horrible, no good idea, then maybe we could think of something else. But, I serve a 2,000-year church, a 2,000-year-old church, saying, hey, for the next 50 years, we're just going to love gays, lesbians, people who are bisexual and transgender, people who are queer and questioning and pansexual or asexual. We're just going to try a whole big ball of acceptance. I actually think that would be a good thing because at the end of the day, it's just people.